Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Lena, for setting this up, and thank you all of you University of New Hampshire students for choosing Abroadia for your program to Cuba. I've lived there for 7 years, and I have been going to Cuba since 2002, and so I'm thrilled to be able to work with you. This is our second time working with the University of New Hampshire, and we've been always been very happy with the students. So welcome, and again, thank you for joining us. So what I'm hoping to do with this is just to introduce myself. I'm the executive director of Abroadia. I founded this company. But more than anything, I wanted to be able to answer any questions you may have. And if you happen to think of a question after the session, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to put my email in the chat box, and then you can just ask me there, whatever you may have on your mind. Okay, so I'm putting in there. It's Abroadia, Tom@abroadia.com. Okay, I just returned from Cuba in November. I went there just to see how things were, because I wanted to assess things certainly before you arrived. And in my sense, it's okay, it's safe. It just remember they're undergoing a severe economic hardship for Cubans. But as Americans and other international visitors, you should be able to go with no problem. The dollar is extremely strong there right now. Inflation in Cuba is about 35%. Exchanged $200 and I got roughly the equivalent of 1,000 Cuban pesos. Um, so you may see something like that, but nevertheless, be very careful with how you manage your money. You're going to see some prices there that may throw you off balance a little bit. So I'm going to give you some pointers, and then we're going to go through the process of your arrival into Cuba, and going to the program. The rest of the program details, itinerary, and all that we'll cover on our orientation session in Havana.
I just have a
So
quick question that you can answer later. I just don't want to forget it.
sure.
In terms of like in a foreign country, there's typically things that are like imported and are like really, really expensive, things that are like kind of like national or normal to the country or state that are like cheaper. If you could go over like things that you recommend buying and things that you recommend like not wasting your money on, that would be great.
Okay. No, I'll get to that. You're probably going to want to buy some, rum or coffee while you're there, and we can talk about that in a
Sure.
minute.
Sure.
But actually, in terms of anything else, like clothing or things like that, that it's just better for you to buy that in the States because the embargo has really limited what goes into Cuba. So I would recommend buying something that are Cuba specific, maybe some artisan work, maybe a painting, because you actually, if you by doing that or a sculpture, you're supporting a Cuban person that doesn't go to the state. We'll talk a little bit more about that down the road. But one of the things, the most common question I get is, well, Tom, how much money should I take? Oh, that's a difficult question because everyone has different spending habits. But I would recommend taking two currencies. One would be dollars, and the others would be euros. I would recommend taking between 100, maybe 150 euros with you, and I'd say like 150, maybe 200, maybe $300 in denominations of 20s, 50s, and $100 bills. Anything lower than a $20 denomination is difficult for them. The reason I say this is one, because the economy is in such shambles right now. It's in such a flux that people prefer to receive U.S. dollars or current or euros. If you take a taxi, they much prefer that. So the exchange rate is the Cuban peso is the Cuban currency, and the exchange rate right now is 25 Cuban pesos to the dollar. Okay, so just to keep that in mind, when we arrive at the well, let me backtrack. When we arrive at the airport, I encourage you not to change money there because the Cuban government takes a huge commission out of that. Every host family that we work with, you can exchange money with them, and you will have a much better rate. And you're also helping them because you're giving them dollars there, which they need. So one of the things we'll do is we will meet you at the airport, and we'll take you immediately to your home stays, where you can change money. So now let me get back to the arrival. You're going to arrive there, and I sent Lena all your home place, your assignments, the addresses of your homestays. You either should memorize where you'll be staying in Cuba, or have it handy in your pocket, in your wallet, what have you, because as part of immigration, they are going to ask you for the address of where you will be staying in Havana. So that is extremely important that you have that information with you. Okay, so either memorize it, have it on your phone, or have it on a piece of paper in your pocket when you're traveling because you need to have that information. Now, the other issue too, when I went there in November, is I had to present a negative COVID test. So, and I've talked to Lena about this. Even though a lot of websites, including CDC, say that Cuba is no longer requiring this, they did when I was there, and I was there on November 6th. So I recommend that you do, and if you can, uh, it should be the result should be in a QR code format, because what the Cuban officials are doing, they're having one of those scanner guns, and they scan it, and then they let you go through. When I went, my result was very text heavy, and so that caused some problems. They had to put me aside, and I just had to wait an extra 10 minutes, but then they did let me through. So try and do that if you can, is having a negative test in a QR code format. All right, once you get through, they'll ask you some questions. What are you here for? Just say I'm here to learn, an academic program. You will be receiving. I will be sending this to. Okay, good question, Brian. I can send you if you give me a minute. He's asking how can we get a QR code with our negative COVID test. I can send you the link to a program that I found that does that, and then you can do that. All right. But before that, I've already presented the information. I think there's another one by Angie. It's just a regular PCR test, okay? But it has to be negative. But I'm going to send you the link in a minute. And if I forget, Brian, just remind me. But I'm going to be sending to Lena scanned images or scanned photos of the visas, the academic visa for each and every one of you, okay? So I'll send that to her. She's going to send that to you. You take a printout copy of that with you. You need to have that when you arrive into Havana. A colleague will meet you there at immigration, and they will give you your original hard copy visa to get through. Okay, so make sure you all get in the same line, because there's gonna be like 8 lines to get through the immigration. Make sure you get in the same line and wear something that says University of New Hampshire or UNH. That can make you guys identifiable to my colleagues, so that we can find you easily. Okay, but we need you in the same line so that we're not scattered looking for you all over the place. Once you get through, then you go and retrieve your luggage, and this is where sometimes it takes a long time. It can up to 45 minutes, maybe even an hour. You have to be patient, but you will get your luggage. It just operates a little bit slower than most airports. And then once you get through, I'll meet you on the other side with my colleagues, and then we'll get you into the transportation, and then we will take you to to your home stays. But I would say before we do that, uh, they give you 30 minutes of free internet access at the airport. All you have to do is enter your passport number, and we can do this once you pass through the customs and the luggage and the baggage claim. And just send a note to your parents or your significant others, letting them know that you arrived safely. Okay, I think that's important. So we will take you to your home stays, and then that's where you can get a light snack, exchange money, but more importantly, drink a lot of water and just rest, because chances are you're going to have to get up very early in the morning that you'll be leaving for Cuba. Okay, but rest is going to be a big issue. Okay, and then, as I said, the most important thing is to have dollars and euros with you. No American credit card or debit card works in Cuba, so don't even think about that. At the airport, they only accept 2 currencies. They don't even accept the Cuban currency and non-American credit card. So keep that in mind. That's why I'm saying you should have some euros, because either there or on the way back when you're leaving, you may want to get something to eat or drink. You're going to need to have euros to make those purchases, or you may want to buy a bottle of rum. And to be honest with you, it's probably better to buy the bottle of rum there at the airport. Prices are between $25 and $70, depending on what quality you want, because it is difficult to find some of these things in Havana. Okay, so once you arrive, as I said, we'll take you to host families. You can rest, get something to eat, get something to drink, and we'll do a quick orientation session so you can meet me, you can meet Glenda and some of our other team, and then we won't have the formal welcome dinner until the next day, because we want you to rest. I mean, trust me, you're going to be exhausted, and the best thing for you is to rest, drink a lot of water, and then get ready for the next day. Okay, and then the next day we will take you through the program. You're going to meet Jorge and Luis and some other colleagues as we go through this program. I was thinking about going through the whole PowerPoint presentation that we usually give for the orientation, but that's too much. We'll give that to you once we're there in Havana. So don't worry about that. Right now, I just want you to ask any questions you may have. I think the big thing I can tell you right now is do not wear any flip-flops. You need to have shoes that they're comfortable walking shoes and they give you strong ankle support. Why? Because a lot of the sidewalks and the curbs there in Havana are in such disrepair, you can hurt yourself. I had one student, she crossed the street, she was wearing a flip-flop, and she broke her ankle because the flip-flops don't give you um, a good support. So keep that in mind because that really was a major issue with her. Not just her, but just to move around. So just keep that in mind. That's the other thing. The other thing too is when you're walking around in Havana, you get used to, you have to really become aware. A lot of the streetlights suddenly turn off, and a lot of people have electric scooters or electric motors, and you can hardly hear them. So you really have to do like a 360, I would say, before you cross the street, especially at an intersection, so you don't get hit by some of these cars. So you have to really be, I always say it's sort of like a spidey sense. You have to be aware of everything and try and anticipate things before you cross the street. Okay. But I will be there with you, and I'll be there 24/7. You know, I've worked with Lena for a long time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Now, before I forget, let me get this the link here for that test. Let's see if I can remember it here.
How recent does the test have to be?
I'd say within 48 hours.
Okay.
See, that much has not changed uh since the pandemic, really. Let's see. I'm trying to get this.
Yeah, Tom, I also have a follow-up question,
Sure. Sure.
can we just do the rapid testing? UNH has both, but some may not have access to the lab. If they go home, if they do the regular one, those one takes longer. And
Right.
then usually you have to have a lab where they can really, kind of process the result. So my question is, can we just, do the rapid testing?
I guess so. I think you can. We just have to see what the Cuban government will allow. Here, I'm just going to give you the website, rev.com. That they produce the COVID results in QR format. I would say whatever test you take, that's fine, but it has to be in something that's really easy to read very quickly, because the Cuban officials are using that gun scanner to scan the results. So they really don't like it when it's like 2 paragraphs of very dense text. They want to see negative, negative COVID. Even if it's something like that, fine. But it has to be something that's very quick and efficient for them. Because then, with me, they stopped me for 10 minutes. And some people had arrived and they didn't even know they had to have the COVID test. So my sense is just you have to have the test. Just take a negative test. I mean, let's just play it safe, and we can avoid any problems. Now, I see that Jacob asked, "Are we able to try Cuban cigars?" Yeah, you will be. In Vinales, we're going to take you to Vinales, which is the Cuban producing region of Cuba. So that's not going to be a problem. We're going to go take you to a tobacco farm. You can check some things out. You may be able to buy something there. You are allowed to bring back some cigars to the United States, but don't take too many. I mean, don't take like 100. So maybe like 10 or something. That's perfectly fine. As for the rum, when I was there, you can buy it. It just, you have to look for it. I mean, you can certainly buy it at the airport in the duty free. They have every single Cuban rum there, so that may be the best bet for you. But remember, to buy it there, you can only buy it using euros or a non-American credit card. So just keep that in mind. So whenever I travel, I always take euros, and it's a good thing because that's all they accept at the airport there. Now we do have some women, and I see we have 2. I think we have Angie. Oh, I'm sorry, no, just Angie in this group. Unfortunately, no, Jacob, that's a good question. The Amex Gold is an American credit card, so that will not be accepted there at all. So that's why you really have to be dependent on cash transactions. So it's always going to be euros and dollars are the best way to go. Okay, and whenever you're in doubt, get some euros. I just put in a request to get some euros sent to me, so I'll have that. Bank of America can do that easily, but you just have to give them some time to do so.
Yeah, I think at the point it's also, I know for some students it's hard to get euro here. You
Yeah.
know, if you haven't really traveled to Europe, you know, the
Right.
exchange rate is also pretty high in the bank here. I
Yes.
mean, I have no problem because I travel to Europe all the time, so I
Right.
do have a euro at home. But I know most students don't have a euro, you know, access here. So I don't know. I think,
Well,
yeah.
do you have a Bank of America in your city, in your town? Because if you have a Bank of America, they can easily do it. You know, it's not a problem. M&T. All right. Well, what you should do is check with M&T if they can do this. If they can if they can transfer if they can change money into euros. Now, let's say you're not able to change money into euros, that's perfectly fine. Don't worry, don't stress out. You can just take dollars, okay? Um, just realize that at the airport, you're not going to be able to make any purchases with dollars. They only accept euros and a non-American credit card. So you may want to look into that. I'll try and look into that, and I'll send you the link for any non-American credit cards. Um, but if you can get euros, that's a good way. So Jacob, if you can contact M&T Bank and ask them, they should be able to give it to you. It may just take a little while. So you'll have to see about that. But I wanted to get again to this question, since we have Angie and some other female students. Unfortunately, in Cuba, there's a lot of machismo. So you just have to don't engage them, just completely ignore them. I've had students in the past, and they're completely right. They turn around and yell at these guys, but it really doesn't do anything. When you're giving them attention, that's what they want, and so in that sense, they win. You just have to ignore them, as hard as it is to do that. And I would certainly have whenever you go out, certainly don't go out by yourself. Go out with another guy or two, or go in groups, 3 or 4. I think that's the best way to do it. We do have where you will be staying. We have Dulce Habana, which is a great restaurant, cafe. I eat there all the time. That will be our meeting point. All right. And you may want to have a coffee there, or maybe have a beer or something like that. But just be aware that it can be expensive. I went there, in November, and I had a spaghetti and 2 bottles of beer, and it came out to, believe it or not, $70. Came out to like 1,700 Cuban pesos. But keep in mind, because the dollar is so strong, when I had exchanged $200, that gave me about $1,000 worth of Cuban pesos. So you have to really guard against saying, "Oh my God, I have so much money because the dollar is so strong." That may be true, but you can easily spend it. I found that happening to me, and even though I was watching it. So be very careful. Now you're going to have daily breakfast at your homestays, okay, and you're going to have 5 dinners there, okay. We want to give you a couple options to eat out on your own. You may want to check something out at Old Havana or something like that. That's perfectly fine. Or just eat at the Dulce Havana. Hotel Presidente I go to a lot. That's where we connect to the internet. And certainly I'll introduce you there. They all know me very well. In fact, they're like family. And they'll look out for you. So you may want to go eat there or have a drink or connect to the internet. I only ask that if you go there only to connect to the internet, at least buy a beer or coffee there, because you are taking space from someone else there. All right. And they want to accommodate you, but remember that they're doing a business. And a lot of these people really depend on tips. So I would say plan on paying wherever you go, whether it's for dinner or a lunch or a drink, try and pay like 20 to 25% tip. That's what I did, because it makes the world of difference for these people, because they need it. That's how I'll tell you how bad things there are. Uh, a dozen eggs can cost up to $100. So that and keep in mind that Cubans, most of them, their monthly salary is $25. All right, so this is how hard it is for them. One person was telling me he earns 3,000 Cuban pesos a month, and he's retired, but he has to pay 1,200 just for eggs. So that's the reality there for Cubans. But for Americans and other international visitors, it's not quite so bad, because the dollar is especially the euro, is so strong. But just keep that in mind. We want to help the Cubans. And so the other thing I'm going to ask you, and I hope you will consider this, is there is an immense shortage of ibuprofen there in Cuba. So if you can, go to like a Dollar General or a dollar store and maybe buy 2 or 3 boxes of ibuprofen each, just to give to the families and to give to other people. The other thing too is, if you can, you don't have to, but it would be a big help, is to buy a package of powdered milk, because they have a severe shortage of milk there in Cuba. So you can use the powdered milk there while you're there for your coffee or whatever, and then just leave it there. They can have that. Okay, that goes a long, long way. I'll be arriving a few days before you, and I'll be taking one extra suitcase only with medical supplies for people there in Cuba. Okay, Jacob, another good question. Anything like creams, yeah, Tylenol, toothpaste, okay, anything like that, vitamin C especially. Most of you're asking very good questions, Jacob. Thank you. Most of the medication they really need are antibiotics, and we can't get them because you need a prescription for them. So anything you can get, especially ibuprofen, that is the big thing. I'm trying to think what else, but yeah, toothpaste, anything for like what's it called, Salampass, for sore backs, things like that. But vitamin C too is also, there's a big shortage of that too. So anything, like I said, for me, the big thing is you can bring the powdered milk. That's a big thing because there's such a shortage there. You'll make a friend for life by doing that. Now, the other thing too, I can't stress enough, is they do have a shortage of toilet paper. Now, don't worry, your host families will provide you with the toilet paper. That's not an issue, but you may want to have some for when you go out, because the places, if you go to bar or restaurant, they may not have toilet paper there. So keep that in mind. I'd say take
I
one or
talked
two
to
rolls.
them about that already.
Okay.
They know.
Okay, and then take them for yourself, and then just leave them there when you're returning to the States, because they really do need that stuff. Certainly take a lot of hand sanitizer with you and a couple of masks. You should be fine in most places, but you may want to go to a good disco place. It's called and Lena knows this, the Fábrica de Arte. Oh, in fact, I can give you the link right here.
Yeah, everybody should go that night. I already give them the itinerary, Tom.
Okay.
Basically, what you send it to me, I send it to them already.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
they kind of know more or less that's what we're gonna do. But I also
Right.
let them know, things are very different in Cuba. So, we may have some kind of unexpected kind of, thing we have to make changes, but
Right. No, and
itinerary already. Yeah.
no, and certainly the thing, bringing like insect repellent, certainly it's a great thing to have. And again, just leave it when you come back to the States. So it's a good thing, because if you bring these things, you can return with a lighter load when you come back to the States. Any medicine, if you're on any kind of medication, bring enough with you, because chances are you're not going to be able to get it there. Okay, so please keep that in mind. And I think we already know one student she's allergic to peanuts. That's not a problem. I already told the host family, and that's not a problem at all. There really isn't. You're going to eat very well. You're going to be very well attended to, because these people, these families I've been working with for years, and they're like families. They're like family to me, and they'll be family to you. And they're still in touch with a lot of the students that I've placed there. So I think you're gonna be very, very, very happy. Each family has a different story to tell. Listen to them. I encourage you, to talk to them. Certainly when you're having breakfast or dinner, even if you may not speak perfect Spanish or may not speak any Spanish, their English may not be perfect either, but you can find a way to communicate. I'll be there. Glenda will be there. You'll meet Glenda. You may meet Mariana, and hopefully Vale as well. We have quite a few people who will be there to support you. We also have a doctor on site who can attend to you. She's female. But if Abroadia will cover the transportation to take you to the doctor or to the hospital if need be. But if you prefer that the doctor make a house call, then that means you have to pay out of pocket, and that's about $25. Okay, so we do have that covered, because it's always good to have a doctor available in case you need anything.
Okay,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, let me kind of jump in here.
Sure.
I don't know if I mentioned to you guys at the meeting, any medical service there, keep in mind, UNH doesn't have international insurance, will cover you. So what you need to do is get the receipt. Okay, you collect the receipt. Hopefully nobody need to see doctor. I mean, that's my hope, right? Everybody's healthy, be able to enjoy the trip, everything, and you don't have to see doctor. But if you do, any charge, you need to really make sure you ask for the receipt. And then when you come back to your United States, you can submit your receipt, and get reimbursed. Okay.
I'll just add to that. You, by virtue of flying into Cuba, you're going to be on what's called Asistor, which is Cuban insurance, and that's the only insurance that they accept there. So that means you don't have to pay anything. Okay, so you're okay. But I promise I will go with whoever needs to go to the hospital. I'll go personally with them. You just have to be very patient and wait. So oftentimes I'll go with a student, and then the student will just I'll have the transportation take them back to their homestay, and I wait until the paperwork is done. It takes usually 4 or 5 hours. You can what Lena's saying is what UNH has is a very good, very thorough insurance program. But the way it works is you have to pay out of pocket for that visit. Keep the receipt, as Lena said, and then when you return to the States, present that receipt, send that to the insurance company, and they'll reimburse you. So really, you really have two choices. You can either do it that way, which is quicker, or you don't have to pay anything, just use the Cuban insurance, but you may have to wait 3 or 4 hours before you can leave because they do the paperwork, and Cubans are notorious for their paperwork and their bureaucracy. But the bottom line is, no matter, you are fully covered. So don't worry about that. You're going to be in good shape. I'll be there. We have our team of transportation, homestays, Glenda, Mariana, and the others. We have a good team there who will be supporting you every step of the way. Now I can go on and talk forever, so I want to see who has any questions. I know Jacob's been asking some good questions. Anyone else have any questions? Or what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just had some more specifics about the homestays and the dynamics at home. So like I thankfully do have like a little bit of Spanish, used to work in restaurants, but again, like I wouldn't say I can like have a fluid conversation in only Spanish.
Right.
So like when it comes to like having your needs met, like hey, you know, it's too cold, or like hey, do you have any water here? Like is it typical, like is it pretty easy, or is there like a big barrier?
No, it's not. It's not a problem. It's a good question, Jacob. In fact, they have a shortage of water as well. But what we're doing is one of the host families will buy like one of these 5-liter bottles of water. It's going to be about $20. So budget for that, and then you can keep that in your room. So make sure you bring your own water bottle. You know, one of those permanent water bottles, not one of those plastic things, and just
Do you think if I like bought a Brita filter for the family, that'd be like something they could use?
you could try that. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Yeah, I'd say try that. But that is an issue. But I have to stress, you need to keep drinking a lot of water because it's hotter than you think. It's more humid than you think there. When it's hot, you can lose up to 2 liters of sweat of water a day. Thankfully, it's not that hot, but you're still going to lose a lot of water. So I cannot drink. I would say just drink a lot of water. Yes, you're going to want to drink rum and beer when you get there. I understand that, but make sure you drink a lot of water because that is an issue. Because I'll tell you, the thing that always happens with students is they'll have severe cases of diarrhea or cramps because they don't have enough water. So something you may also want to think about is taking some potassium pills with you to avoid any cramps. But the issue is, students do go to the hospital, but it's because they're not drinking enough water, and that's why they have these symptoms. Hopefully, we won't have that with your group. I just want to stress, you just drink a lot of water while you're there.
Yeah, of course. So with that being said, let's say we're sitting in the living room at our homestay and we want a cup of water. Is it only available through the water that is bought, or do they have tap there?
No, do not drink the tap water. It's only water that's bought or they boil.
Okay. So that's what I was going to say. If I were to bring a Brita filter, would I be able, if not, I probably would run it through the filter a few times, but do you think that would be okay? Or do you think you wouldn't?
I think it's okay. It wouldn't hurt to try. It wouldn't hurt to try, but definitely don't drink the water out of the tap. Absolutely not. That's certainly not. Now, what else was I going to say? Also, bring a flashlight with you, okay? Because at night, you'll see a lot of the street lights. They don't work, okay? And you need to see them, be able to see, because some of the sidewalks are in such disrepair you can easily trip. I badly hurt my foot when I tripped on one of these things. Another friend of mine, she broke her ankle. So you see a lot of people walking on the street. So yeah, hold on for a minute. Because they can't see the sidewalk, and they go on the street. So you don't be surprised by that. A lot of things, and I'll talk about this when we get there. I don't want you to do any yellow lining. You're going to see yellow lining. What is it? Well, on the street you have a yellow line, right? The cars can't that separate the lanes of traffic. You'll see a lot of Cubans stand in the middle of that to be able to go to cross the street with traffic going in both directions. Do not do that, because there have been a lot of people who've been hit by cars. I lost a very good friend of mine. She got hit by a car and she was killed, a Cuban, because she was crossing the street that way. Because keep in mind, a lot of these cars, these are vintage cars. We're talking about 1950 DeSotos and 1950 Chevys. They have to avoid any hole on the road, because they don't. If they break apart, they can't get them, right. That's the curse of the vintage cars. They don't have these parts available. Even even here in the States. So they will avoid any bump in the road, any hole in the road. And if you're standing in the middle of on a yellow line, then you are in serious danger. So if you're running late for something, that's perfectly fine. But I do not want you to run a risk. We'll talk about this a little bit more when you arrive in Cuba.
Okay, I need a Tom. Sorry to stop you.
No, that's fine.
Let me just kind of come back to the flashlight thing. A lot of your cell phone, have a pretty good flashlight, and that would do it. My phone flashlight just work like a regular flashlight. So I don't know what kind of phone do you have. If you have a phone with a very good, flashlight, function, I think that would do it.
Yes, okay, do that. Also, download this maps.me. It's a great app on your phone. Has maps for every city in the world, including Cuba, and it works even when you're offline. I no longer worry about using a paper maps, because one, they're hard to get there in Havana, and this is much better. You'll see. So remember, download maps.me. In fact, do it now before you forget. But this is a great app to have in terms of just getting a sense of Havana, and things like that in Cuba. Okay. I'm trying to think of anything else. I think that's pretty much it. I hope you have your dancing shoes on, because you'll have some opportunities to dance. Do we have any good dancers here? I'm not, so I'm not going to raise my hand. Jacob, good. All right, good.
I'm excited for the salsa class.
Well, good. The salsa class, you are going to do very well. So like I said, don't worry if you don't speak Spanish. That's perfectly fine. We just want you to talk to people. Okay, good. Angie does too. Good. And dancing with people is the best way to interact with someone and to communicate with someone. And the music you're going to see is very good. Now, another thing I wanted to ask, because we're going to take you to a wonderful a show. It's Havana Compas dance, and they do percussion dance, and it's really wonderful. But we're trying to raise some money for them. You're not under no obligation, so please don't feel like you have to. But if you can contribute $5, we'd like to give a little bit of a tip to them. It's good to support them. As a you'll see when we visit them. I think you're going to really like them. And I think then that's it. The only other thing, just again, please be careful when you're at the house, because if you break something, it's an issue there. Now, if you lose a key, then you're going to have to pay $20, because it costs about that much money, because they have to replace every lock in the house. So that's why you have to be very careful with the house keys when you go out. They're going to trust you with that. So please take care of those type of things. Now, I always tell you the story, not that you're going to do this. This was actually a professor, believe it or not, who was much more irresponsible than students. She dropped something heavy on a tile floor in one of the host family's rooms, and she broke it, the floor. But she didn't say anything. She covered it with a rug, and then she left. And then the next day, later on, the poor woman, she's 87 years old. She said, "Tom, look what she did here. This cost me over $100. I can't afford it." She had to pay it. It was very expensive for her. But this professor completely left. Very irresponsible. She took the easy way out. It was a cowardly way out, to be honest with you. She put the carpet over the hole there in the floor. And most students don't do that. Most students, in fact, believe it or not, behave much better than the professors. I can tell you stories about some of these professors, but I won't. The students have always been very good, and I think you will too. I don't doubt that at all. Like I said, just go with a good attitude, meet people, be friendly, engage, show them that you want to learn about Cuba. And then I think you I think you can have fun. Like I said, I lived there for 7 years. It's a fascinating country. The people are wonderful. There's so much history there, and you'll make a lot of friends. Any other questions?
For the nightlife scene, is there, I guess, like, I would think just like any place, there's probably different types of music and stuff like that. I'm obsessed with music, so I'm like interested in dance music type of stuff. Like, do they have like electronic dance music there, or is it typically like salsa, jazz, and more?
No. There's like I said, I put this. They have a lot of jazz. In fact, right now they have the International Jazz Festival in Cuba, in Havana. So they have a lot of
We won't be there during that, right?
No, we won't, unfortunately. But if you look, you can look up on YouTube. They'll have it there, and some of the performances are absolutely incredible. In fact, I don't know if Lena sent you the link, but I created a special page for you on Facebook, the Abroadia for UNH Havana program 2023. We have several links there. Unfortunately, Pablo Milanés, great Cuban singer, just passed away a couple weeks ago. One of my favorite singers. He was a part of the Nueva Trova. Great style of music, and he just passed away. You may want to familiarize yourself with some of his music, because that gives you a talking point with Cubans. And of course, here's another one, Los Desiguales.
I was gonna ask,
or reggaeton, but I think I like them. So, and then you know what? In fact, I can put you in touch with if you want. I don't know. Have you seen this video yet?
Let's see.
Click on that. You're going to meet Dania. She's a friend of mine. She's from Cuba. She works with me. She lives in Miami.
Yeah. I actually did watch that video.
Send it already.
Okay, good. Well, if you want, I can put you in touch with her, and she can recommend some musicians to you, some music, Cuban music to listen to.
Well, I actually make music, and I was super excited because I was thinking about sampling some of the stuff that I heard.
Oh, perfect.
So I wanted to like kind of like, if basically not like just go to a random place and hope it's good, kind of like have a target or a goal.
Well, like I said, the Fábrica de Arte, and you will go there, but again, this is you'd have to pay out of you have to pay out of pocket, because this is excuse me for a minute. Can you just hold on? I may have to take this because I had a flood in my house, and this may be someone who's checking. Hold on, let me just take this call. I'll be right back.
Professor, yeah, you have a professor come in and talk about that topic, and the professor will bring some instruments, for you to kind of play, So Jake, by all means.
Oh, actually,
yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, no, that's
that class. Cool. That class, the professor would talk about music in general, right? Cuban music, blah blah blah, and then at the end, I thought it was very fun too, because that was what we did last time when I did this program with the UNH students, and then professor would have some, Cuban, instruments, and students not just play along, and some of them they got up and dance. I think, I love that presentation. I really do, so I think we're gonna do that, what time?
I wanted to purchase an instrument from Cuba, not one that's used in the lecture or the class.
Yeah, that's not a problem. There's an instrument that you may want to look at. It's called the tres.
How do you spell it?
I just put in the chat. I'm sorry, I spelled it wrong. It's TRES.
Okay.
And it's like a smaller version of the guitar, but with 6 strings.
That's right.
In fact, I can send you a picture of that. That's not.
Oh yeah. I've seen these before. Okay.
But that's not a problem. And if you want, I can, I can bring in another music specialist. We couldn't include her in the presentation because it's a little too expensive. We wanted to keep the costs down.
Yeah.
I may be able to have her join us like for lunch or something, but she handles a lot of the music production in Havana.
That's awesome. That's what I do.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that we can do. It wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, Mike, or sorry, Tom, my fault. Maybe I don't want to take up the whole time, but maybe we could have like a Zoom just to talk about more of the music specific stuff.
No, I'm more than happy to. Let me put my email up again here.
I think it's like, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm happy to talk with anyone here too in the group. It's like I said, just let me know. Like I said, I love Cuba, and I want to make sure you have all the information you need. And again, I think Lena had touched upon this. with your cell phone providers, make sure you call them. I mean, don't tell them I'm going to Cuba. Just say, look, I'm going to be traveling, blah blah blah. Oh, you could say that. It's just what the information they gave is misleading. They said, yeah, you can use it here. It's only like $1 a minute. It's like, no, it's usually $4 to $5 a minute. So they're really expensive. What you can do, if you want, you do not have to, but you can rent a cell phone line. It's $3 per day. Okay. We would just give you the SIM chip. You rent the SIM chip. You have to return it before you leave, obviously. $3 a day, but your phone has to be unlocked, and then they can put it in there, and it's not a problem at all. That would be the best way, really, rather than renting another phone. And it's always good because we can communicate with you via text if need be. But yeah, you just have to keep in mind the telecommunications in Cuba are not the same here. You don't have rollover minutes. You have what's called saldos, which are just they give you a certain allotment by how much you pay, and they can go pretty quick. So you can't really watch videos on you can watch videos on your cell phone, but just consume a lot of the credit very quickly. But that shouldn't be too much of an issue, really. I don't think you'll be using your phones too much, other than just like for maybe recording something or taking pictures or videos, not downloading movies, of course. I'm just trying to think what other things that may be of interest to you. Yeah, no, that's it. Well, our big thing is we want you to meet Cubans, so we're going to try and create opportunities for you to engage with other Cubans. I can't make any promises, but there's a school that we always work with where they're training Cubans to work in the tourist sector. So they need to work on their English, and so they want to practice English with you. We'll try and set that up, but I can't promise anything. But we'll work on it.
Okay, other student, I mean, good, Jay, you asked a lot of questions, but I want to make sure, other student can also, if you have some questions, some comments, please speak up.
Question. So are you saying that the roaming data, like if we turn it on, won't work?
I'd be very careful with it because that's where the charges can get you. I did it one time when I was with with Sprint, and it's just exorbitant fees. So I would certainly consult with them before you do that. Make sure they give you a straight answer.
Okay.
All right, because like I said, for me, the safest thing wherever I go, whether it's Argentina or Bolivia, I just buy the line there, and then I keep it up, and then that's it. I just slip in the chip wherever I go because otherwise it's just really expensive. Ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, I will agree with Tom. The best way is if you have an open phone, you just buy the chip and put it in. That's the cheapest way you can do, when you do the online.
Yeah. And then Angie just asked me a question. I think we're going to the Museum of Fine Arts, but not too far away is the Historical Museum, and you can certainly go. If we find it's not on the agenda, but we can find some time. You'll have some free time during the program, and you can go there. Glenda, by the way, is our she's an Abroadia staff member, but she's a tour guide at the Museum of Fine Arts, so she'll be going there. And so I wanted to ask if you can find maybe a University of New Hampshire T-shirt that you could give to her. She's a small size, and I'm happy to pay for that. But I'd like to give her a little bit of a gift. And you'll like her. She's wonderful. She's a lot of fun. I'm trying to think, but yeah, Cuba. I think you will like it. I never tell people anything. You have to just absorb it and take it as it is. Just leave any preconceptions behind. The people are wonderful, and I think you can make some lifelong friends. And I think that's really so important. Now I'm going to start picking on people. Griffin, I haven't heard from you. Do you have any questions? I'm sorry. Well, let's see, Griffin. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I actually do. I have a friend who lived in Cuba for a little while, and he helped out at a community center in Havana for a little while, and he was asking me if I could potentially bring a couple things. I'm not sure the exact community center, but would that be something that I would maybe be able to do?
I think you can if you can find out from your friend what the community center is, because they have quite a few. Some of them
Yeah.
are for youth, some of them for older people. Yeah, I don't see that be a problem. Just see if you can find out from your friend what the name is.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, and then Matthew, I think you had a question.
Yeah, so I have more like a culture question, I guess. So, um, I'm gay, right? So like, and I know like some countries and stuff really don't look fondly on that. Is that something that like I'm going to need to worry about like when I'm there, or?
No, you're it's not a problem. In fact, the place where you're gonna be staying at, the owner of that house, he's gay, and he can actually give you a story. Boy, does he have a story of what he went through when he was younger, back years ago in Cuba. They did not treat gays very well at all, and he can tell you some of the stories where they had to put him in a camp. But wonderful man. I always love talking with him. Great. He's actually one of the few people who's taller than I am, and I'm 6'3". It's funny really because Cuba now is more accepting of gay males than they are of lesbians. It's really interesting. And what I'm trying to do, I wanted to I'm trying to get this director, but it's there's a movie called Vestido de Novia, um, which is really a groundbreaking movie. I took some of my students to meet the director. This movie is about it touches on the gay theme, but it also talks about it has transgender issues there as well, and you can see how Cuba has transitioned in terms of coming down really hard on the gay community to now becoming a little more accepting. I thought this was a brilliant movie, and
Yeah,
if we
yeah,
can get this director, that'd be great.
we use that movie for our Spanish classes a lot
Oh,
because
you did see it. Okay,
we
okay.
do,
Well,
but no, but Tom, this group of students going to Cuba, they are not Spanish students. They are
okay,
from all different kind of majors.
of
Despite the
course,
fact some do speak Spanish, but they
right.
not Spanish major or minor. So the movie you mentioned, I'll just want to kind of make the point. That movie was a great movie. We often use that for our Spanish classes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you can see it with subtitles, I think it's worth seeing. Um, but again, getting back to your answer to your question, Matthew, no, you should be fine. And you'll be with his name is Juan Emilio. He's gay and he has some gay friends there, so I think it's a good space for you. But more than anything, I want you to be able to listen to the stories he has to tell, and he's just what he's lived is just really back 20, 30 years ago. It's something else. Jacob, there's a place to work out, but keep in mind it's in an old synagogue. And I walked by there, and it seems to be okay, but keep in mind that a lot of the equipment there is very dated, very old. It's not what you were used to here in the States. But again, that's a question you can ask your host family, and they can tell you. But at the synagogue, that's the only one I know of, and it's small. It's not the most modern equipment, so you can lift some basic weights and things like that. I don't know what you're looking for, but I would just say it's very minimal in terms of what you may be expecting. Uh, okay, just dumbbells. I think they do have some there. So again, your best resource will be the host family. And if you ever have any question, you can't express yourself or have trouble with communication, let me know, and I'll be there.
Okay. Anything else? It's about time, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I always said I wanted to try and get this down under an hour because I know you're all very busy, and I appreciate the time that you're giving me.
One more question. How much luggage do you recommend bringing?
No more than 2 pieces, because any more than that, then they may charge you extra. When I
Okay.
went there in November, it was a major issue because people were bringing 3 pieces of luggage, um, and it was just a lot. Because I was flying from JFK to Havana. It was on a Saturday, and that's something a Trump policy that Biden has not undone yet. Trump had decreed that flights from JFK to Havana, direct flights on Saturdays, there can be only one. Every other day of the week, there can be up to 5. And so Saturday when I went, it was just absolutely crazy. So I would just try and keep it up. If you can just go with one, that'd be even better. Just one luggage, but no more than 2, really. I think
Okay,
that's
and when you say luggage, you mean like the ones that get checked, right? Not like
no. I
carry-on
mean,
things.
the check-in luggage.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Let's see.
I would say since it's such a short, trip, you're only gonna be there in and out, 8 days, I
Yep.
think a good carry on, would be just really good enough, maybe
Yeah.
medium, and also definitely check with your airline because based on my understanding, a lot of airlines right now charge a fee for checking back, so I would definitely do that.
Yeah, check in, and it also just reminds you when you do laundry there, it's usually about $5 per load. So when you give your load, don't give them 30 to 40 pieces to wash, because remember, their washing machines are very small. Electricity is an issue. Try and give them 7 to 8 pieces to wash, and pay $5 a load, because it goes a long way for the laundry detergent, which again is something that's hard for them to find. So maybe that may be, if you want to, bring some small packets of laundry detergent for them as well. Well, yeah, but definitely don't pack heavy. Like, 'cause you may want to have one light, something warm, because it can get cold at night, and certainly have an umbrella, because it can rain sometimes. And I think that's it. I just can't think of anything else. I don't know if anyone else has any questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I see Tristan just asked a question. Yes, you're all, with the exception of 2 of you, you're all going to be within 2 minutes of each other on the 17th Street. Okay, so that's not an issue. You can meet there. A couple of you are going to be a little further away, about 10 minutes away, but we can arrange for transportation there. I think it's the reason I did that is because this is a good family. His name is Perfecto, and the wife is Eludis. She's a nurse, and they're wonderful. And if you like to eat good food, I mean, they can give you some really good food. And they have a son who's a university student, Osvaldo, who's pretty much your age. So I think that would be really wonderful for you to engage with them. So I think every family, I think you'll be very happy. You'll like. It's a wonderful people. I've been working with them almost 10 years now, and they're just terrific people. So any other questions? Again, you have my email. Feel free. I'm happy to meet with you guys on Zoom or anything like that. Email me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Just get into the habit of writing down your questions. If you're like me, you may forget anything that's on your mind. But again, the bottom line is, see if you can get those euros. And if not, that's fine. Just take enough US dollars with you. But no, the denomination should be no lower than $20. And certainly no higher than 100. And they have to be in they can't be torn or really defaced, because that's an issue. Some places don't accept them. So that I think that's it. I don't know if you want to look for a Canadian credit card or anything like that.
Probably not. You're just gonna be there for 8 days, Tom.
No, that's true. But the reason I say that, Lena, is when I was in Old Havana, every place I went to said we only accept payment by credit card, by card. Se acepta tarjeta sola. So only tarjeta. So
Yeah.
that can either be the Cuban credit card, MLC, but that's another story. You don't have to worry about that, or a non-American credit card. So, but I found a few places there in Old Havana I could still pay with Cuban pesos, so it's not an issue. But it's something that you may see.
So I have just want to confirm, make sure students understand this is they bring if they cannot bring any euro, they bring American dollars.
Yeah.
Do not change American dollars at the airport. Change them with the host family so they can change their dollar, right?
Yes.
To pesos, with the host family, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's much better. It's a much better rate, and you're really helping the people who need the money. And again, for me, the big thing too is whenever you go out and have a meal, I say if you can, just pay 20-25% tip. I always did, up to 30%. I actually, one girl, she was almost in tears. She just thanked me for the tip, because that's how bad they are for cash. So
I also would like to emphasize, we are also really talking to students here, not everybody can afford doing that all the time.
No. I
sure
understand. I understand that, but I'm also saying you can have a little more disposable income with you with the exchange rate. Remember, the dollar is so strong there right now. The inflation's through the roof. You don't have to do it all. What?
I think everybody would do the best, right?
No, that's all I ask. That's all I ask. You just be compassionate. That's all I say. All I'm saying. I mean, with the group lunches, don't worry about that. Abroadia will be paying the tip.
Yeah.
Just whenever you eat out on your own, or whenever if you go out to have a drink on your own, obviously you don't have to pay too big of a tip. But just I'd say tip them like maybe I don't know, a $5 bill or something like that. Okay, Brian has to go. Thank you for joining us, Brian. I think the rest of you may have to go as well. So thank you very much for your time. I'll be sending you the link, Lena, so you can send it to the students who couldn't make it, or maybe send it to everyone so they have it.
I will.
And we'll be in touch. Feel free to email me with any questions you may have.
Okay, Tom, thank you for this meeting. Wonderful. We'll be in touch.
Thank you all for joining. I'll see you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.